All right, what's up everyone? Greg here with Investing in Gold, and today I want to talk about investing in silver, or why invest in silver. I got some friends getting ready to come over and play some pickleball. Just got my pickleball court up in the backyard this summer, and one of my friends I play pickleball with was asking me about precious metals. And he does well financially, but is not huge into investing. So he was asking me, why precious metals? And specifically, should I do gold, should I do silver? I was kind of just comparing the two for him, so I figured now would be a good time to shoot why invest in silver, and kind of talk about the points of why I like silver specifically. So before I do, I went actually to my vault and I got out some of my physical silver I own. I just want to show you what that looks like. So here's one of my 10-ounce bars. I have 10 of these in this box, and this is from A-Mark. You can see it says 0.999 plus pure silver, 10-ounce Troy. This is what most of them say. And here's the back. You can actually see it's tarnished a little bit. I've had it so long that it actually has those hydrogen sulfide spots on them, and that just happens when it's too warm. The moisture mixes with something and creates these spots and it tarnishes them. But you can actually get these off, and these spots don't decrease your silver at all. So if that's something that worries you, don't let it worry you. Those spots won't decrease the value, and also you can get rid of them as well. And then here's one of my silver coins I really like. This came from a good friend of mine. This is actually the Chuck Norris 2021 silver coin, and it's one of my favorites. I love Chuck Norris. That's one of my silver coins I own. But I also own a lot of silver in my IRA, right? In my precious metals IRA, and I like a mix of both. And when people ask me for investment advice, they think just because I'm from investing in gold that I'm put as much money as you can into precious metals. That is not the case. I don't think that's smart. I think a smart investment approach is to diversify, and I think precious metals are a fantastic choice to have in that diversification. The percentages just depend on what you're comfortable with, but a lot of people invest between 5 to 20% of their net worth into precious metals. Just depends on how big of a proponent you are and where the times are and all of that. I think after this video, you'll get a good idea of why, when, and how, right? And what you should do when I kind of give you all these points. So let's go to point one, and that is the fact that silver is physical. You can actually hold it. And a lot of investments that you own, and I own, really, because I own stocks, I own bonds, I own CDs, I own all different types of investments. Most of my investments I can't physically hold. I like to have something in my portfolio that I can physically hold, and that's gold and silver, precious metals, right? And of course, we're talking about silver specifically in this video, so I'm going to stop mentioning gold so much and just talk about silver. But in general, a lot of things that go for silver also go for gold because it's a precious metal, right? So I like the fact that you can physically hold it, and at the same time, it can't be printed out of thin air. If you know anything about the markets or government or the dollar, when the government needs money, what does it do? It prints it, right? It just turns on the printing presses, and we keep going more and more in debt, which is going to devalue our dollar. So I like the fact that precious metals can't just be printed out of thin air, and also it's physically backed. You can actually physically hold it, right? It's also never been defaulted on, and it's been a long-term use for money. Actually, silver has been used longer than gold. Both thousands of years, but silver was actually used first. Also, silver is low cost compared to gold as well. This 10-ounce bar right here would be about $250 right now, mid-2023. 1 ounce is about $25, whereas a 10-ounce bar, if this was gold, would be about $20,000, right? Whereas 1 ounce of gold is about $2,000, a little under right now. So that's one of the reasons I like silver, is it's just easier to get a hold of for a lot of people, especially if you don't have as much money. So now let's talk about the good times to invest in silver, or when silver does better. And that's typically in the bull markets. Now, funny enough, right now, I believe we're closer to a bear market. Although we've been a little bullish lately, I think we're leading up to a pretty bad bear market. And a lot of really smart financial people agree with me that we could actually be seeing something like the 2008 financial collapse we saw coming up in the next couple years, next few years, whatever the case is, anytime really, because things just aren't adding up and things aren't great right now. And I think the markets are doing a little too well for how things are going, and I just see the ball dropping eventually. The good news for that is I own gold and silver, right? I own both precious metals. I like to have both because, number one, they both do really well when the markets aren't doing well. That's typically when they do best. But when the markets aren't doing well, gold will typically do better, right? So in a bear market, gold typically performs better. Silver still goes up, but just not as much as gold. On the opposite end, in a bull market, silver typically does better than gold, right? Where they can both go up, but silver will typically go up higher in the bull markets. So that's one of the reasons I like silver, is because it does better in bull markets. And one of the reasons I like gold better is because it does better in the bear markets. It's just the kind of opposite things there, but they cancel each other out, and that's why I like to have both. So now we're going to talk about one of my more favorite reasons of gold or silver right now, and that's that inventories are falling right now. right? So the supply is falling, but also the demand is growing. And industrial use is actually higher than it's ever been. And a lot of people aren't aware, but silver is used in pretty much anything, like any day of the week, anytime, likely every day you're using something that contains silver, right? Cell phones, any electronics, batteries. I mean, it's in tons of different things you aren't even aware of. So silver has tons of practical uses. It's always going to be used. And now again, those industrial demands are increasing. Kind of alluded to, the supply is falling. One of the reasons for that is because when silver had its top back in 2011 and then it kind of fell off for a while, well, silver wasn't as profitable to kind of mine, and so less of it has been happening over the past 10 years. And now we're at a place where it's actually near its all-time low or at its all-time low. And that's a good formula. You know, if you know anything about finance, low supply with high demand typically results in a very good outcome. So that's one of the biggest reasons I really like silver right now instead of gold, right? I still love gold, but that's one of my big proponents for silver at this time right now. And actually, virtually all major government mints have seen record sales lately, and they're at peak production. So all these things combined is a very good formula to be investing in silver right now. So that's just some of the major reasons that I like to invest in silver. It's such a great way to diversify your financial portfolio. You know, it's something that you can actually physically hold. It's, you know, it's physically backed, does well typically when the other markets are down. There's a chart, and I wish I had it, but it showed during 2008, like if you had 100% stock investment, typically a $300,000 investment would have been worth about $153,000 when it was like at its peak low, right? So you basically would have lost half your investments. If you had 70% stocks and 30% precious metals, $300,000 would have been worth about $425,000, right? So you would have had about $125,000 increase in profit there at the peak low. And if you had 50 and 50, 50% stock, 50% precious metals, $300,000 would have been worth about $620,000, right? In those ranges. Don't quote me specifically. I'm within, you know, 10, 20 grand for each estimate. But that just shows when stock markets don't do well, precious metals typically do very well. And that's why I like to have them in my portfolio. That's why I like to diversify. And again, I don't believe in putting everything in one spot. I diversify, right? I have some in stocks, some in bonds, some in CDs. I have some real estate, and I have precious metals, right? And I have other investments as well, like annuities and other small things. But the point is diversify. Don't let anyone talk you into putting all your money into one spot, because if that sector goes bad, it's not going to be good for you. You're going to lose everything. Whereas if you diversify, you're really keeping yourself safe. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video on why invest in silver. Make sure you hit the like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe, and I got to get to my pickleball play, so I'll see you guys in the next video.